Welcome to First Takedown, the first episode of our new podcast. I'm Alex Bennett. We are starting off this podcast because we enjoy talking about wrestling, and I am gonna be our host for this, but I do have two professionals in the wrestling world and community. I'd call them professionals, but I know some wrestling knowledge, I do, but not as much as our resident know-it-all, Hunter Gamble, we got here, and then also Landon Loalbo. For me, I grew up wrestling. We always talk wrestling. I love talking wrestling with these guys, but we just thought, hey, let's do it together because
Let's
why
get it.
not? We think that's just a great thing to do because it's more fun to talk with people, and it's also fun to hear everybody's takes. So, Hunter, just go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll do Landon, and then we'll kind of get right into it.
Yeah, I mean, Landon's a dad now, so he doesn't have any wrestling knowledge anymore. All that kind of went out the
Dad
window.
strength. I got dad
Yeah,
strength.
dad strength. Yeah. So we all wrestled together in college. I ended up coaching in college for a little while, bounced around, and now I'm just an avid fan of college wrestling, wrestling at the highest level, senior level wrestling as well. That's kind of we were just talking about it. I actually started a podcast a few years ago during COVID, and right before I got back into coaching, and I was like, I can't do a podcast while I'm coaching college wrestling and have opinions on college wrestling at a high level. So
Give your takes
I
against
kept
your
those to
guys.
myself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I kept those to myself, and then obviously that kind of went away. But man, we've been talking about this for a couple weeks, and I'm always excited to talk about wrestling, and this is a great avenue for that. So I know the boys are pretty pumped to talk about it.
Pumped for it. Thanks for being here, Hunter. Landon, go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, let's go. We all wrestled together out of the great state of Virginia. Still live there now, coaching and teaching Virginia now. But I'd say the other reason we started this podcast is because we've been doing the NCAA draft for years and years. Unfortunately, Hunter's the what, two-time winner, something like that. But you got last one time, so he's
Hey
not
man,
Mr. Know-it-all every
my
year. Just
strategy was
emotion.
either win it or lose it. I don't care if I'm third or last or whatever. I try to win it.
Just most years. So I've Google Sheets back years and years doing this. So we're excited to talk about it and have some fun.
This is my favorite time of the year, and partly is because of that draft that we do every year for Big Tens, which we're gonna get into, and NCAAs. I want to set the record straight. I did win last year over Hunter. Had a really good tournament. So I don't know if we can. Hopefully we can keep it going this year, but we'll see. But yeah, I grew up wrestling too. Also coach wrestling a little bit right now. I'm about to go do a little private lesson after this. But first, guys, just want to kind of get into. We know we love talking about wrestling. What up, Shay?
What's up, little man?
Let's talk about a standout moment this year. I know for this podcast as a whole, we're going to talk about all different things of wrestling, right? I know mainly focusing on NCAA wrestling because we're at like the big, the end of the year tournaments, the conference tournaments, then the championship. But then, we may get into freestyle, we maybe get into different rules. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But right now, let's just talk about a standout that has been like maybe a favorite moment from this college wrestling season so far.
Honestly, Iowa and Oklahoma State's dual schedule has been awesome to watch all year. Just watching, Iowa in a close one here and there, and then they kind of had the letdown at Penn State, and then Oklahoma State kind of having their all the momentum they have. And I know Alex, you and I are big David Taylor fans, big Cowboy fans. So we've been talking something you and I've been talking about all year is just how great they've looked, and then them kind of culminating and having that huge duel at the end of the year, Sunday night, last duel of the year, 8:30 on a Sunday was really cool. So man, even just like Iowa beating Nebraska at the very end, coming back, Stephen Buchanan. I mean, those duels have been awesome all year, and those kind of go under the radar. Some of those Big Ten duels that maybe we just obviously they're publicized but everybody wants to talk about Penn State, and Penn State's a great story. They could break the record, but I love the Iowa and Oklahoma State kind of coming together at the end of the year, having that 2 versus 3 battle in Carver Hawkeye. That was my moment of the year for sure.
I Before I get to yours, Landon, I have a question because I was thinking about
Yeah.
this before. When did when did duels become, especially Big Ten, when did that become like a Friday night thing? Because it is one of my like favorite things, but I don't remember when that like started. But I always look forward. I'm like, oh heck yeah, Friday night, I'm staying in and watching wrestling. When did that start to happen? You know?
Man, I would say when Big Ten Network started covering these guys, and they've just made it a Friday night thing, and then as the season goes along, it's Friday, Sunday. So you'll see Iowa or Penn State or Nebraska wrestle on Friday, and then you'll see them wrestle again on Sunday a lot of times. So Big Ten Network has done a great job covering those guys, and I hope they continue to do it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking with one of my buddies, and I was like, "This is the worst time of the year for sports. Like, it's right after the Super Bowl. There's no more football. There's no baseball. Like, nothing's going on. The weather kind of stinks." And I'm like, "This is right in my like wheelhouse, sporting wise, for me, just because." I mean, I'm legitimately Friday night and Sunday afternoon. I'm occupied. So now that's over. Now there's no more DraftKings lines either. So we'll just have to settle for the conference
What?
tournament and the national tournament.
Yeah, yeah, man. We might need to get on that eventually. Get on the DraftKings lines for I don't know. That might be a next year thing.
They posted them for about 2 weeks. There was about 2 weeks where lines were posted on DraftKings for some of these college dual meets, and it was really cool. I mean, you get down in the weeds. I mean, they had Presbyterian versus VMI on there, so I mean, you
And
could really get. I mean, you hear stories about people betting on Russian pickleball and stuff like that. I mean that's what I felt like betting on college wrestling on a Friday night.
hey, I got a buddy who started doing some soccer picks for some different company. Like got hired by CBS Sports because he just started putting all his picks on Twitter. So hey, that might be something you could do in the future, just those
There you
picks
go.
on the small. But I love that, and I think also because this time of the year, I think when it's slowly starting to get warm, I think also my body is just so like used to being a little bit happier this time. Not just because like the seasonal depression, but I'm also like, hey, it's also not time to cut weight anymore, even though I don't cut weight. But it's like it's
Your
a weird
body
thing.
feels that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Lando, did you want to get? I know you got to go pretty quick. Is there anything you wanted to kind of get to before you got off? I know you only had a few minutes on here.
Yeah, I'll just share my moment of the year. And I think it's going under the radar, and I think it's Tech beating NC State in the dual match a couple weeks ago because Tech's been beat by them the last 3 or 4 years, and then NC State's gone on and won the ACC tournament. So they have a really solid team this year. I'm obviously being a little bit of a homer, being a Virginia guy, but I think they could surprise some people in NCAA's, get top six, maybe top five if they have some good guys come out and show out. So I was really excited to see them beat NC State, and that was my moment of the year.
I think they beat them the last 2 years. If you'll remember, Sam Latona's freshman year slept on that cradle against Camacho.
Hey, Sam
I think it
Latona's
was
a senior though.
yeah, but that was his. I think he redshirted and then he went four straight. Did he not? I'd have to look that up. I'd have to look
We're
that one
old
up.
though. We're
We
getting
need a
old.
fact checker
No
on this
doubt.
podcast.
No
But
doubt. No
all
doubt.
right, boys, I gotta run. You guys can share my picks for NCAA if you
Sounds
want,
good.
but
Yeah.
Dad like calls.
Appreciate you, Landon.
All right, see you, fellas.
See you, buddy.
I would say my
Maybe he's right, dude. Maybe he's right.
is he?
Because he went 25-25. He had the COVID year. Oh, but no, the COVID year app open, and then it was canceled. Let's see. He in the dual meet. Yeah, Camacho 7-4. Yeah, that was his freshman year. 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah, so that I think he might be right. Yeah, that was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Good lord, I feel
Jeez.
old. God,
Jeez.
I feel old.
Yeah. Well, for I will say my season highlight probably was the day when David Taylor, and it's I'd still say it's this season because it was building up to it, but when they hired DT, just because I grew up Oklahoma State wrestling fan, didn't wrestle there obviously, but my grandpa went there, and so then I was like, oh heck yeah, like a momentum shift. It's just I think it's just good for the sport. It's just fun to watch, and it's fun to see that like culture change they've had of just like scoring points. So, well, hey, let's get into the Big Ten tournament Preseeds just launched today. We're recording on a Wednesday, and hopefully this comes out Friday.
We'll see. We'll see. First time doing this.
Let's go through anything like notable, I guess. Or I know, do you want to go by weights? Do you want to
Yeah, we
just
can
talk
go. We
about?
can go quick by weights.
Yeah, let's do it.
We can just go quick. We don't have to, harp on every single thing about the weight.
Mhm.
We just talk about interesting matchups. I'll say about 125. There's 9 allocations, so 9 guys are going to go through. Cooper Flynn's that 9 seed, and to me, there is a group of 9, and then it kind of drops a little bit. But there's a group of about 9 guys that could all wrestle with each other in this group. And then obviously the big story that everybody's going to want to talk about is Matt Ramos and Luke Lillidahl being on the same side.
Yeah.
Lillidahl kind of punished Joey Cruz last time he wrestled him, so I would expect him to do the same there if they meet in the corners and in the quarters, and then you set up a big time Luke Lillidahl Matt Ramos match. And I think in most people's mind they would say that's kind of whoever they pick between that match is who people would pick to win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say personally, I like Ramos the first time around. I think he poses a lot of tricks. He's been wrestling really really well. I mean, I've seen it a million times where freshman comes in, loses at the conference tournament, comes back, wins at the national tournament. So I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. It really depends on how they look. Luke could go out there and win this match, but Ramos has looked really complete this year. I think him and even now with Richard Figueroa coming back in the last few weeks, he's looked awesome. So.
Mm-hmm.
Expect a really highly contested 125 at the national tournament, but I love that Lillidahl Ramos matchup.
Yeah, that one's sweet. And I think this is a little bit like last year. I mean, I feel like, 125 was pretty up in the air. I feel like it's still a little bit, but I think Ramos has a lot more credibility, even though, he had it last year.
Yeah, now it's 33. It's 33 that's the crazy
Yeah.
weight now. With no Crookham, I mean everybody's has a loss. Everybody's lost to somebody or beaten. It's crazy. 33. I mean, we'll get to it, but it's wild. I mean, we'll talk about 2 week out NCAA picks. Landon picked a guy that I was like, dude, what on earth? I mean, but you can't really fault anybody for picking somebody at 133. Somebody's going to have to
Yeah.
win the tournament. And, maybe Drake Isle is the front runner, but yeah, I don't mean to get sidetracked, but man, I mean, it's like 33 is kind of crazy. It's the 125 of last year.
Well, I'll just say for me for the Preseeds for 125, I think I'm excited about that potential semifinal matchup. I think that'll be a fun like style for those guys. And Penn State's gamers once it gets to the end of the year, so we'll see. I will say though with Caleb Smith, the only thing on that side is that he seems like he's super hard to score on. Seems like he can keep any match close, and that's why I feel like it's the only thing that's probably going to keep him in. Not the only thing, but he also knows how to compete at the high level now, being like his second year in the Big Tens, knows how to compete with these guys. So I'm excited about it. I think that weight will be fun, and then I hope Cooper Flynn can kind of come up, and being a Tennessee boy, I hope he
Yeah.
can come up from that 9 seed and kind of maybe turn some heads.
Well, I went to high school in Maryland, so
Yeah, I know.
it's not really a
That's
Tennessee
Tennessee
kid.
boy. Yeah, right.
No, yeah, Cooper was always, he would come around the Chattanooga room, and so I like Cooper. I hope he can. Like I said, I think there's that group of 9. I really do think he could do some work on the backside of this tournament. He had a really close one with Joey Cruz, who's the 5 seed. I think he can wrestle with Caleb Smith, Dean Peterson. I think he can wrestle with all those guys. And really, all those guys can kind of wrestle with each other. There's a big tier of 9 there. Obviously, I think Ramos and Lillidahl are.
Yeah. Well, this is pretty interesting to kind of get into the seeds now because, so for everybody who's for listening, when we do our drafts for the NCAAs, I'm just going to kind of talk about it, even though we'll probably talk about the other ones, but we'll do the Big Ten tournament decides the draft order for the NCAA tournament, and you pick one seed per weight class. Out of all the 10 weight classes, so say I take my 1 as Matt Ramos, now I can't take any other 1 seed. Now I go to a 2 seed, so I could take a 2, maybe Jesse Mendez at 141, whatever it may be. But I pick my 10, and then however they do at the Big Tens, that determines the draft order, and then it's 1 per weight class in the NCAAs. But this is kind of fun because I usually wait till at least I can kind of see the brackets to visualize a little bit. So just seeing the seeds is a little bit hard for me to be like, all right, I want to pick this guy, yeah, because like kind of seeing where those losses could match up in the backside. But getting into 133, yeah, it's up in the air. What's your big takeaway? I know it's kind of like Ayala still being the number 1, former, national finalist. Has he beaten he wrestled beat Bird, right? That was probably his biggest win this year.
That's right. Yeah, he beat Bird. Bird beat Braxton Brown. Braden Davis is, he's been in and out of the lineup kind of all year. This is an interesting weight, man, because I think, again, just like 25, I think you go down to like number 10 or 11. Like Tyler Wells is tough, man. I mean, Tyler Wells is a tough kid. Jacob Van D comes out and just mashes Braden Davis earlier in the year. So you've got some really interesting seeds here. Braxton Brown's looked good all year. You know, obviously I gotta support the Maryland crew out there. So he's looked great. He took that loss to Bird, but he's looked good other than that all year. And then you got a guy like Nick Bouzakis at 9. That to me, I'm sitting there. Him at 9 is crazy because. I mean, we saw his match with Braden Davis. I mean, controversial. Could have had a back points. Didn't give it to him. Maybe he had him. Maybe he didn't. But I think Bouzakis really and truly could wrestle with anybody in this weight, even Ayala. I just don't know if he's and you know you kind of hear this thought. It's like Bouzakis can beat anybody, but can he put like all the matches together it's going to take to do it? I just don't know. So if I'm Iowa, I'm sitting there like kind of like I really don't want to go to this Bouzakis guy in the quarters, but it is what it is. All these guys are kind of spread out. They're all kind of close. Shawver, Big Ten champ last year. It's kind of a crazy weight in the Big Ten and then also at the national tournament. But 10 guys will get allocated. You know, they got 10 allocations at the weight. 10 guys will go through, and then we'll see what happens from there.
I don't see anybody outside of those 10 really making it, and kind of I feel like another little drop off after that 10 there. But I mean, it's true what you said about Uzakis, because it's like I used to not think that there's like a dual wrestler compared to like a tournament wrestler. You have to be able to put a good tournament together, especially when you're at Big Tens and get into national tournament. But then you have guys that can compete and keep matches close for the duels, and that's why we'll have a conversation later about maybe what it would look like for a collegiate duels, instead of
Yeah.
just a tournament. Because I'm interested. I don't think we've ever really talked about that. I'm interested in what you
No,
think.
and I mean, I think Ayala gets it done at the end, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some upsets in this weight. Again, just talking about the nature of the weight on the national scale, and then talking about the nature of the weight at Big Tens. And, I think if you have to pick somebody, I think the pick's Ayala. I don't really know that you can go much other way just from what you've seen this season. But I'm curious to see the Braden Davis Shawver semi or quarter, and then I'm curious if Davis can get through that to see Davis and Ayala in a semifinal. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right, in the 141, we've
Yeah, I
got.
mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say we've got. I think for me, at least, I know the top five guys pretty well. I don't know as much. I mean, oh, actually, Cannon all the way at 10. But I know you've got obviously a national finalist, the one and the two, that I think we'll probably still see that matchup again. They've had some good matches the last couple times, but what else is sticking out to you from this weight?
Yeah, no, I mean Brock Hardy's always a tough out. Vance Von Bauer's looked really good this year. There's 7 allocations, so you go all the way down to Pacino. So it's like maybe a Henry Porter, Grayson Clark, Chris Cannon, Colin Shriver. That type of group is going to be looking to try to upset somebody on the backside. But I think there's a group of 2, and then maybe a small tier of Hardy at the 3. But I do think Hardy and Von Bauer can wrestle with these guys. I think if Von Bauer gets past Limley, I think it'll be a close match with Bartlett and Von Bauer. And then, Mendez is, he's kind of beaten. I mean, obviously the infamous Spladle last year with Brock Hardy is probably on everybody's minds. But Mendez, there was a part of the season where I thought he looked like the best guy in the country, and then he kind of he had a tough outing against Von Bauer. Not tough. I mean, he won the match. The kid's tough, but just didn't look like himself. And then against Bartlett, taking the loss, which that's a guy that's obviously his peer, but you thought maybe Mendez had kind of figured that one out. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. I think it'll be Mendez and Bartlett again. I'll take Mendez this time just because I don't know. I think he's the better wrestler, but
Hmm.
there's not any like proof in that. It's just I think the guy's really, really good. And he's going to have to do it the hard way, though. He's going to have to beat Brock Hardy again. And then he's going to have a close match with Bo Bartlett. And so I think he comes out on top, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mendez. You thought he kind of took that big jump, kind of the end of the year of like got a national championship under his belt, and then kind of felt like took a little step back. So I'm excited to see what he does because I enjoyed watching him a ton last year at the national tournament. It was a lot of fun to watch. But do you think Von Bauer and Bartlett? What do you think about that matchup? You think that will be the semi? You think he beats Sergio?
I do. I mean, Limley had a breakout year was it last year or 2 years ago? I think it was last year. But man, Von Bauer turned it on at the national tournament last year, and I thought he's looked really good this year, putting Mendez in a close match. Just the matches that he wrestles, he's a dog, man. This guy's an absolute dog. He scraps, and I like watching him wrestle. He may make too many mistakes to beat Bo Bartlett because he does kind of throw caution to the wind, and Bartlett will normally capitalize when you do stuff like that. But you can't put it past this guy, man. He's tough.
Yeah. Well, getting into 149, I think this weight's going to be a lot of fun.
One of my favorites. One of my favorites.
These top, well, it's kind of the three, but I mean, also you never really count out D'Amelio for me, at Ohio State, because these guys are some solid wrestlers once it gets to the top. I mean, Shane Van Kyle Parko, Ridge Lovett, they've all kind of exchanged, because Ridge is the only loss to Shane Van right?
That's
This year.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this one's gonna be fun, but I mean, obviously you've got Parko and Lovett probably in the semis. I don't know if anybody's gonna compete with them just yet, but I think this one is gonna be really fun to see in those I mean, from the quarter, semis, and finals, I think this will be some really good matchups.
Well, I mean, if you'll remember that Ohio State Penn State duel, Shane Van Ness and D'Amelio had a really close match. It was nip and tuck for a while. So D'Amelio getting past Cannon Webster, that's no easy out. That dude's tough. He wrestles hard. There's 8 allocations. There's kind of that top group of 3 though. To me, maybe you put D'Amelio in there. I probably wouldn't personally. I think those other 3 are national title contenders, and I don't really see D'Amelio as that guy. Maybe some people do. But personally for me, I think Rich gets it done. The only thing that worries me with Ridge is he hasn't really won those upper body exchanges with Parko in the past. Like, he's kind of gotten there and hasn't really won them. Unless I'm forgetting their other matches in the past. I'm obviously thinking of the most recent one. And so we'll see what happens. I just every time I watch them, I'm like, oh, I think Ridge is better. But then, Parko won the last time, and I really want to see a Lovett Van Ness rematch. So I'm kind of manifesting it, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I think Ridge is the guy though. I think he took that loss, and yeah, we'll see. Ridge is a tough out.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one because I think this weight cast last year, I mean, without Van Ness was a little bit interesting, but even you throw Van Ness back in, it still makes it interesting because Lovett redshirt last year, right?
No, Lovett took 6th in the country, and Lovett was the 1 seed going into the national tournament last
it
year.
was 2 years ago that he
Yeah,
redshirted.
yeah. The year Yanni finished up was his redshirt year. So yeah, no, last year he was the 1 seed, and he had the loss to Henson in the semis, which was a really close match, and then you get on that backside after losing a semi like that, you're a little sad. It's the wrestling doesn't always translate after that.
Well, this one is going to be fun. I mean, I love watching Ridge, and then I think this one is going to be super important when it comes to the seeds for the NCAAs.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, to me, there's a group of 4, right, with those 3 and then Henson. So I do think, however you slice it, unless something crazy happens, it's 2 guys on each side of the bracket. It's just however you shake them up, right? So, and if you're, I don't know, if you're Nebraska, you probably want to beat Parko so that you don't have to see him on that side, and you'd rather see a Van Ness again if you beat Van Ness again. So I don't know. I mean, just from what we've seen, I think it's definitely some interesting storylines for the national tournament. But to me, there's a group of 4.
Yeah. Well, getting into 157, I know we got some interesting seeds, some guys in here. I mean, like the thing that sticks out to me immediately, you have Teamer who's down at the 4, and then obviously Ethan Miller at the 1 from Maryland, baby. What speaks to you here from this weight class?
Yeah, I mean, obviously seeing Ethan up at the top, seeing Miller time up there is nice, and I think it's right. I mean, the guy went undefeated throughout the year. He went out there when Kasak wrestled, and obviously that match didn't go down. I think either way, either guy wanted that to happen, but it is what it is. Kasak had the hit to the head. He had the concussion, and has to default out of the has to default out of the match. I don't really think there's anything else you can do from there. You make Miller the 1, you make Kasak the 2. Either way, again, to me, there's a group of 4. So I'm almost like, well, Teamer had the close match against Askey in the duel, but he kind of just went out and got it when he needed it, and I kind of expect him to do that again. I think Antrell did the same thing with Blaze. I think he'll do that again, and then Kasak and Miller as well. So that'll be interesting to see Kasak, Antrell semi, and maybe a Teamer Miller semi if that's how it all works out. That's how the seeds have it, but yeah, man, what an interesting weight, especially at the national tournament with what happens. I know we said that at 49, but it's kind of crazy. I think most people would probably just look at this bracket and be like, yeah, I mean, I'm taking Kasak. Kasak's going to win, and they might be right. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I don't know that you can. I mean, he was having a close match with Ethan Miller at the time. I think Ja'Cory Teamer poses some problems. I know Kasak beat him last time, but man, it's an interesting weight, especially with the concussion stuff. I'd probably lean Kasak. I'd probably end up just saying I think Kasak will be the guy, but anything can happen.
Yeah, I think so too, and I'm interested to see how healthy Teamer is now compared to last time that he wrestled Kasak. But I mean, again, I think this just speaks to Big Ten tournament. This is why we love why we're breaking. I mean, why everyone's going to break down the Big Ten tournament. I mean, number one, they always have the most allocations, but it's a mini national tournament for the most part. Then you have national tournaments just more exciting because you're throwing around the best guys from every other
For
conference.
sure. Yeah,
What
and
a,
then
how
you
many?
only got 8 allocations here, so
Okay.
you're looking at like a Brandon Cannon, Chase Saldate. That 8-9 matchup is going to be really interesting on the top side because you really want to win that one to set yourself up with a better match on the bottom side. So at least I think that would be how that works because you wouldn't necessarily need. Yeah, it would go to 8, so no true ninth in this scenario, which is kind of insane that they do a true ninth. But hey, you want to get the best guys. You want to get the best guys at the tournament.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in 165, I think right
Next
now, I
topic.
mean,
Next topic.
you've got a one and you've got a two. I mean, to me, I think, right? And
I mean, I will say, I think Minto wrestled Caliendo really tough. He's a true, or no, I think he's a redshirt freshman. He could be a true freshman. Tough kid out of Florida. I remember watching him when I was at Chattanooga, and that dude was tough. I really liked Chris Minto. He has really impressed me this year. I don't necessarily think he beats Caliendo, but he kept it close last time. I do think he could do that again, and we'll see what happens. Again, at the end of it, there's 9 allocations. 9 of these guys will get through. That kind of ends at Patty Gallagher, so you would kind of expect that to be the last guy to round it out. But yeah, I mean, Messenbrink's he's looked phenomenal all year. I don't
he's
see anything changing him.
on a different level right now, and that's why I'm curious to see what your Big Ten picks are going to be when we do our seeds for our little bracket, because I don't know if you're going to take him at the 1 or the guy who's at heavyweight at 1. We'll see.
Yeah, it's not a well kept secret.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Mitchell Messenbrink. I mean, look, you can go pick Gable, and that's fine. I won't harp on anybody for picking somebody else, but I just think the bonus potential. It's not the bonus potential round 1 or round 2. The number 2 seed he tech falled this year. That happened.
Crazy.
So I don't know, man. Crazy. It's a wild. It's been wild to see how much he separated himself, and then almost how much of a separation Caliendo has on the rest of the group.
Yeah, it's crazy. And even, I mean, who else? I mean, not talking too much about the other conferences right now, but who else is there at 65 that could kind of throw their hat in the ring for, maybe even beating Caliendo?
I mean, I would have said Amin had a shot whenever it was, in the past they've had some close matches, but even Caliendo's looked like he's turned it up this year. So it's like it's kind of crazy the jump that Caliendo's made, but then the the double jump that Messenbrink's made. So
Yeah.
I don't really know that there is much of anybody that Bear Claw wrestled him close last year, right? He wrestled him close when they wrestled last year at the Black Knight when they were teammates, and those guys were teammates. But this is a different Mitchell Messenbrink, man. I wouldn't bet against the guy.
Yeah, hey, I mean, I remember you talking about him last year a little bit, like telling some of our buddies, like, you got to watch this guy. Like, just the
Got
way that
to.
he scores points
It's
is crazy.
phenomenal.
Even last year was still like on a different level, and maybe we wrestle that match again with David Carr, it might look different. And so now this year, him coming back literally on a different level. So
Yeah.
it's been cool. But all right, I think I think another probably easy pick for the win for me, but just getting into 174, what's exciting about that one?
I disagree. I think Karchla had him beat in the duel, and he was the aggressor. He was on Levi the whole time. I'm gonna pick Karchla, and maybe that's incorrect. I think if I watch that match again, if I watch those two wrestle again, and it goes similarly, the hand fighting, the exchanges from the single legs from Karchla, if those exchanges go similarly, I would think that Karchla would win those
Mm-hmm.
just because of what he did last time. He was able to score the takedown early, and he kept getting to Haynes' leg over and over and over again. And then he made one mistake, and Haynes capitalized, put him in a tough situation with the Turk, and then kind of just rode that period out in the third and ended up coming away with a win. But I think Harchla Pinto's weird. He's kind of a funky type of guy. He could pose some problems, but I think Carson's looked really good this year. Maybe it's crazy. I don't think so, but I think I would pick Karchla right now.
Dang, I like it. I wanted to see what your maybe upset would be of like one of these weights. And so, I mean, I don't think that would be like a major upset at all because I think that matchup is a tough one for Haynes. Like, because the way he's wrestled now at 74 is the way that I think that Carson wrestles well. So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be those two guys in the finals. How many allocations they at for
Yeah, there's 8 allocations. It goes down to the 8 seed, which would be Brody Ballman out of Purdue, kid out of Indiana. Yeah, I think there's a clear group of 2 to me, and then you've got a smaller tier with Kennedy and Pinto that I think is kind of that next group. I'd love to see Pinto and Kennedy get it on again because they had a crazy match.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I think an interesting final if those two guys make it, Haynes and Hartzler.
Was that Pinto Kennedy match? Wasn't that like a lot of points?
A lot
Yeah, yeah,
early,
yeah.
and then they both got exhausted in the second period, and then at the very end, Pinto just like bursted, got a score, finished the match. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Well, all right, into 184. 184, getting into the big boys. You know this weight class well. What are we looking at? I mean, I know there's some people in this weight that I think have been there for a minute, and then you've also got some youngsters coming up.
Yeah, I think another next topic, right, as far as the champ goes, I think,
Mhm.
Starachi and Keckeisen are kind of on a crash course again for the NCAA finals after meeting in the All-Star. So, I'm really curious to see how that goes. But as far as the other thing, McAnally's looked really good. Gabe and Arnold and Jackson Smith, I used to wrestle with both of those guys, with them being Georgia boys.
Mhm.
And they're gonna have a really close match, just like it was in the duel. That could be a toss-up match in the corner or in the quarters. And then kind of look at some of these other matches. Silas Allred, Edmund Ruth is kind of interesting. I think Silas maybe has a little bit too much offense, and then I think McAnally has kind of been on a little bit of an island. Starachi Island, McAnally has kind of had that next tier down, and then you got another little group of guys there. So. Not a super fun weight for me, honestly. I'm not super excited about this one. There's 8 allocations. It goes down to Rogotsky and DJ Washington, and so that could be an interesting 8-9. But man, I don't really have much interest in this weight. Not that I mean I'll watch every match and
Yeah.
I'll consume it all. I'll watch true ninth matches, but
Yeah. Well,
but
the interesting
I
part.
kind of have an idea of where these guys. I feel like I kind of already have an idea. Whereas like a 33, I don't really know.
Yeah, there could
So
be some that go either way. Yeah, I think people have tried to build up, obviously the Arnold Sirachi potential semi. I don't know. Could that be because it would be what Gabe and Jackson right again. That was a close match last
yeah,
time. So I
yeah,
don't know.
right outs. I mean, look, I love Gabe. I mean, you got to prepare yourself however you should prepare yourself, and if that's the way to go about it, then do it. I don't think any more harm is going to come to him because he talks negatively towards Carter Starachi versus, doesn't say anything to him. I don't see that scenario. Maybe people are saying, oh, well, Carter's going to go after him harder. I don't know. Maybe that is what motivates Carter Starachi. I feel like the guy's probably motivated just to be the best in the country and the best in the world. I don't necessarily think he's worried, but I don't know. He's kind of fought back with some words. He talked about Angelo being the better wrestler, and he tweeted out "Start the Kid" talking about Angelo Ferrari. So he's kind of chirped back a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like we're just not going to see this match.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like they're like, hey, let's try to make this weight class interesting and try to add some, because I think it's good to add that to the sport. I enjoy it. Like I would love if more people trash talk, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. We'll see.
Yeah.
What has there ever is Strachey won Big Tens 4 times?
No, he lost to Kimmer his freshman year.
Yeah, okay.
He
So
lost to Kimmer, and he lost to him pretty bad at the Big Tens, and then came back and beat Kimmer in the national finals. It was when no fans were there.
Yeah, I was supposed to be there.
Yeah, so that was the one with no fans there. It was kind of crazy because right before that, Shane Griffith won the national title, and everybody's, saved Stanford wrestling. It was crazy. It was really cool. And then, everybody was kind of just, expecting Kimmer to beat Starachi, and Starachi, he's a gamer, man, came out and beat Kimmer.
That was going to be my question. Well, first of all, I wish we were like a week before that tournament, and I had tickets, and I was so excited to be in Minnesota. But
they'll be back 2028. Yeah. It'll be there.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question for Srirachi. I know he's going for a 5-time, obviously for NCAAs. I didn't know. I was trying to remember if there had been a 5-time.
Well, he would only be, if he wins this, he'd only be a 3-time Big Ten champion. He didn't win it last year because he defaulted out. Yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
This is why we're doing this together.
There we go. I
remember when you tell me. So
yeah, yep.
Well, that's good. Well, all right, 97. Just a couple more weight classes of Big Tens. Let's see. Buchanan 1, Josh Barr 2, Cardenas 3, Salazar 4. Let's see. I mean, for me, it would be what those top 3 guys probably before the drop off before Salazar. But I mean, you still got some pretty solid guys on the way. What do you think? And what do you think about potential rematch between Buchanan and Barr?
I think the Cardenas Barr rematch intrigues me a little more. I don't see anybody beating Buchanan personally at the Big Tens. He's looked so solid all year, and I just don't, Barr could. I'm not saying he can't. When you're a freshman and you got that, I will never put anything past a Penn State freshman, So definitely can, but Buchanan's looked great. I could see Cardenas beating Barr. I could see Barr beating Cardenas, but I think that's a toss-up match. It went into rideouts last time. Crazy match. But yeah, I have it Buchanan, and I'll just say this time, I think maybe Cardenas figures some things out and gets Barr this time, but we'll see. That one could go either way to me, but I think in the end Buchanan gets it done. And there's 10 allocations. It goes down to Remy Cotton at 10, who would be the 10 seed. So one of those lower guys would have to beat one of those guys to qualify. So
this is another one of those where the Big Ten champ could potentially, or even like the top 3-4 guys could potentially be totally different in the national tournament, which I think is going to be so fun. It's going to be some really cool matchups. And then obviously you throw in Ferrari, and who else is good at 197 besides him that's in the top? There was somebody else I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, you got Stephen Little out of Little Rock.
Yeah.
He's super tough. Obviously Ferrari, you've got, who is, he's such a polarizing type of guy, right? But I think everybody's interested to see what happens with a Buchanan Ferrari matchup or a Josh Barr Ferrari matchup or something like that. You've got, the kid from Oregon State who's really tough. His name is escaping me for some reason. But that guy comes out. Gosh, man, I'm gonna. It's
Michael Beard. You've got
you got Michael Beard. Yeah, but you got
Munoz.
Munoz. Yeah, you got Munoz who comes out, takes Buchanan down in the first duel of the season with Oregon State and Iowa, And I'm thinking, wow, Munoz looks great. And then Buchanan battles back, and he's looked like a dog ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to watch. Pac-12 starts tomorrow, actually, which is awesome. So, yeah, we'll
Geez,
get to watch
heck
some
yeah.
wrestling tomorrow.
Heck yeah. Wait, remind me, Buchanan went from, he started out at Wyoming
Started
and
at
then
Wyoming. He's from Wisconsin. So he's
Wisconsin.
originally from Wisconsin. Started at Wyoming, left Wyoming to go to Oklahoma, and then left Oklahoma and came to Iowa to get the bag. So,
Yeah.
you know,
And hey, I feel like he's jumped. I mean,
he's
because he
been
was good.
worth it, man. Yeah,
He's been one. I mean, I feel like I've had him on my like fantasy like rankings team from like a couple times, but I feel like every year he's kind of jumped up a level, which is cool to see. Like guys that are actually like at that level of number one, but still getting that much better every year. So,
absolutely.
all right, the big boys, 285.
Kirk Fleet over Steve. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say, is it next question or what is? I mean, I guess a more interesting question is like, what does that matchup look like now? What do you think?
Yeah, the Flow guys were talking about it. I guess that was yesterday, and they were like, "How do you beat Gable? Do you out take him down? What do you do to beat him?" So I don't know. I guess the only way you really could is if it's like a 0-0 takedown match, and somehow you can like get a leg in and ride him. The guy's 275 pounds. I don't know how you're gonna do that, but um, I I don't
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't know.
I don't I don't really know, man. I think it's Kirk Stevenson in the finals, and then I think Gable maybe gets him by two takedowns to zero, something like that. I think it's probably a close match, and maybe he kind of scores with short time or something like that. But it's going to be interesting. I think that there's some interesting seeds here too. You've got Heinzelman, Feldman, Luffman, Slavikuski, and Keeter that I think are all in kind of a tier.
Hmm.
And then you got those other guys at the top. And I mean, look, I biased, but I think Seth Neville's can wrestle with a few of those guys too. So
Yeah. How many allocations there at nine?
they get
Or
10. Yeah,
10?
they get 10, which is it's crazy how many they get. But all those guys are nationally ranked up to Filipowicz at 10. So yeah, man, kind of a next topic for me. But yeah, I think that people are going to be interested. Penn State fans will be like, they'll be sitting there going, "Oh, do we have a shot here?" And I think, maybe they're not completely off base for thinking that, but it could.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested still to see. In my head, I'm like, well, maybe Greg is in better shape now that he's out. But I mean, he's been wrestling now for the whole season, so it's like I don't think that's really an argument now. So I think Gable gets it done. One of the best to do it. So I'm excited that he's back doing it, and so it'll be good. It'll be a good finish. So hopefully we'll see some backflips. Does he still do that? Can he still do
I
backflips?
think
Is
he
he
can still do it. I
okay?
mean, I don't think he can take his shoes off again, though.
Yeah, yeah.
I
How
don't
many
think he
times
can do that.
how many
I don't
times
know.
do you have to do that?
He can backflip all he wants. He can do that twice if he wants. I don't care. I think we gotta we, we
No
we
more.
gotta make the shoe taken off a little more sacred.
I think so because it's the best when it does happen. But all right. Well, hey, what last thing for Big Tens? I mean, I think you kind of hit a little bit, but what's your maybe like dark horse or biggest upset from like what everybody else might pick?
Yeah. So I mean, I think most people would have Haynes. Personally, I'm picking. I think most people would pick Barr over Cardenas, and I think most people would pick Haynes over. I know those aren't huge upsets, but in the eyes of probably what most people are thinking, I'm gonna kind of go the opposite way, and I think maybe those get flipped around this time, just because they were such close matches last time, and the way that the matches were going, it was like all the if you had like live lines, it would have been like Carson Karchlov minus 240,
Yeah.
but it would have been when it was in overtime, it would have been Cardenas minus 500, and then all of a sudden Barr gets an escape. So I do think those guys have the ability to win, and I think most people would probably pick the other way around. So those are kind of the two I'm eyeing.
But would you say those are like your most like exciting matchups you think you're for? Or do you got any other matchups you're most excited for?
No, I mean watching 49, seeing Lovett and Parco again, and then maybe Lovett and Van Ness. I want to see that again. Always interested in a Bartlett Mendez match,
Hmm.
and then you know I would say Karsten Harshla, and watching him and Levi Haynes would probably be, a top 3 match. So yeah, that's exciting to me. I would probably say most people probably put Kirkfleet and Stevenson in there just because that they haven't seen it, but I'm not. It's not one for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, all right, let's get probably our 2 early NCAA picks. And I say that because obviously we've still got a couple weeks. You never know what can happen.
Guys can get hurt, brackets, yeah. I mean anything.
Yeah. So
Well,
I've
let's
got,
just let's just do this. How about you run through? Let's just run through them weight by weight. We'll run through Landon's, and then you can run through yours, and I'll run through mine, or however you want to do it.
yeah,
Let's not do too
sure.
much commentary, and then we'll kind of get into the commentary when we do the
Actual
NCAA show.
picks. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Landon's 2 weeks out NCAA picks. He said Ramos wrestling too well, which, agree. We talked about that. 33, he said Romney. Romney is his sleeper.
Zeth Romney.
Zeth
Wow,
Romney.
interesting.
Yeah. Hey, we talked about it's up in the air.
It is.
41, he's got Mendez, 3-man race. He's picking last year's champ. We talked about that too. Same thing. 49, Van Ness. So one loss was a lot closer than it shows, which we might see those matchups. 57, Shapiro. Oh, he said Kasek might be a little banged up, but Shapiro has something to prove from last year, which I don't mind it. I don't mind it. 65, Messenbrick, next topic. Haynes, ooh, 74 says Haynes over O'Toole gets revenge. Then he says on 84, he said Kekheisen. He said because no one wants Strachey to win was his. Which
I
I'll be
think
honest.
people do. I think people do want Sriracha to win.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
I think people would love if Carter won, or I mean, excuse me, if Parker won.
Yeah,
But I think people want to see Carter win 5.
I know. It's one of those where it's like me, Derrick Henry going to the Ravens. Like, I mean, I'm happy for him. I'm excited
Yeah,
about it, but
but
also
as a Titans fan, you're like,
yeah,
yeah,
dang. All right, 97 Buchanan. He wants to say Barr, but Buchanan been tough this year. Same thing that we talked about. Next level, and then last one, Gable. Next topic. Gable next topic is what he said. So I think I'm kind of gonna agree with him. For mine, I'm run through real quick. I want for 25, and this might be just a little bit biased, just because I think he helped me win our little NCAA bracket challenge. But I want Figueroa again, just because he's back, and he was a lot of fun to watch at the tournament last year. 33 again, up in the air. My heart wants Nasir Bailey,
mm,
but I don't. I think just from some of his matchups, the ones that he has lost, I think Ayala gets it done just from being there last year, and now probably can being in the finals. I think he'll go back and get it done this year. My 141. I actually, this is going to be my kind of, I guess, upset pick, but I think Bartlett's going to win it this time,
nice, nice.
and I don't want it. I'll be honest. I like Mendez, just his style better, but I think Bartlett, has been in that matchup, and I think Big Ten's, I think they could flip flop them. So it'll be interesting how it goes. I mean, you also have Alirez, so that'll be interesting. 49 is a tougher one because I think just shooting from the hip, again want to like go Caleb Henson just because is last year champ, been there, done that. Um, but that one is a tougher pick for me. 57, I think Kasak gets it done. I think if he stays healthy and is good, then I think he's gonna win that one. Mess and brick. Next topic. I'm going. At 74, I want to go Hamity, but I, but I don't.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
Oh, that would be sweet. I think O'Toole gets it done. I think he's a gamer, and I think he's something to prove after last year. I love O'Toole. I mean, I love a lot of those guys. 84, I think Strachey is gonna beat Kekais again. D7, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say Buchanan. Thought about changing it up, and then 285, I'm gonna say Gable.
Yeah, Yeah, those are good. I like those. I'm going to agree with you on 25. I'm going to go Figs. I think Figs gets it done. He has looked phenomenal the last few weeks in dual meets against Strickenberger. He looked really awesome. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Figs. At 33, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna pick Evan Frost. And maybe that's a little weird. I think he was cutting a lot of weight at the beginning of the year, especially in that Ayala matchup. He's looked pretty solid towards the end of the year this year, and I think maybe his weight's getting a little more under control. I don't know, man. The guy wrestles so damn hard. I could totally see him losing that matchup, but I could also maybe see Drake getting upset along the way
Yeah,
against somebody.
yeah.
So I don't know. That weight's crazy. I could change my mind next week. There's no telling. 39. I'm gonna go Mendez. I think he's just the best. I think he's the most talented guy in the weight. 49. I'm gonna go Henson. It's my boy. I'm gonna go Henson. He hasn't looked completely right at times this year, but at the height of his powers, I think he's the best guy. So if he's looking right at the national tournament, I think he'll win it. 57's tough, man. I want to pick Ethan Miller, but most people would probably say that's crazy. I don't think it's that crazy. I think he can wrestle with those guys. I think Shapiro and Kasak. What a crazy match if that happens. I want to see that. I'll pick Shapiro, but I think it's close. Messenbrink, 65, champ.
Next.
I'm gonna go O'Toole. Sleeper pick. Carson Hartzler wins the national tournament.
Hey, I'm no. It would be a surprise. I was going to say
It would. It would be a surprise.
It'd
It would be a surprise. Unless he wins Big Tens.
Yeah.
And then people would be like, "Oh, okay," because he'd go into the tournament as the 2 or 3 seed, probably the two. What? Hey, wouldn't this be crazy? So what if O'Toole is the 1 seed? Let's say Hartzler beats Haynes. O'Toole's the 1 seed, beats Hamity, okay, and then the 2 seed is Hartzler, the 3 seed's Hamity, and the 4 seed's Haynes. I could see that.
Yeah.
And then you got Haynes and O'Toole on the same side.
That would be so.
I don't know. Haynes, I could sit. You know what? I don't know. My pick could be Haynes next week, but I think right now he's got to get through Hartzler, and I can't get that match out of my brain. I got to see him wrestle again because I can't get that match out of my brain. I think Starachi wins, but I could see Keckeisen winning. I'll pick Carter. 7. I want to pick Ferrari.
I know, that's what I want.
But I'll stick with Buchanan, man. He's looked so solid, and I don't think he can just show up and just be that guy. I think he got to be doing it all year. And then 285, I'm going to pick Gable. Man, it's going to be interesting in a few weeks. I'm excited. I leave in 2 weeks, baby. Philadelphia, 2 weeks.
Man,
so,
I
wish you were coming out there with me.
I know. Well, hey, I know this is we're just jumping straight into it. We literally, for everybody listening, we were like, we've been wanting to do this, and we literally were like yesterday, let's do it. If we don't go in, we might not do it. So we're jumping in. This is first takedown. So man, these next few weeks are some of the best few weeks of the year because of the college wrestling season and coming down to some some massive matchups. Some I like. Hopefully we'll see some really exciting. I think upsets are always so fun to watch, but also just some cool matches, some good matches. Folk style better than freestyle. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. But no, it's just a great time of the year. You got gamers coming out. I love seeing some dark horses coming out too. So that might be something we pick some more dark horses once we get the national tournament. Once we get past all the conference tournaments, and do you enjoy watching some wrestling this week? You said Pac-12 starts tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, and then we've got wrestling basically tomorrow all the way through Sunday. So it's going to be an interesting weekend. I'll be semi locked in for from Thursday on. Probably not. I need to do some work, but then on Saturday I'll definitely be watching some wrestling. But yeah, like you were saying, man, we've been talking about it. I love talking wrestling. I could just do this all day. So we wanted to get on here and chat a little bit, and we said we wanted to keep it at about an hour, right? And kept it right there. So keep it at about an hour. We'll get better. We'll start cussing a little bit. Maybe putting our real personality out there a little bit. Not our
on Gabe Arnold. No, I'm just kidding.
I love Gabe, man. He's got to get some freaking offense though. He knows that. He knows that though. You can't rely on just wrestling out of every position. You got to create some positions on his own. So Gabe's good. He'll have a close one with Jackson again. In the quarters. That'll be interesting on Saturday. So I'm pumped, man. It's gonna be awesome weekend, and
Yeah,
then
well, hey,
nationals.
this has been good. I mean, we're gonna have some social medias probably, so go ahead and follow
Yeah, we'll figure him out. Figure it out along the way.
all those. We're gonna be watching some wrestling, probably tweeting along the past, like tweeting or Xing, whatever. The next couple weeks. Gonna do some more episodes once we get past these conference tournaments, and then, like I said, talking about some other wrestling stuff once we get past this. We're getting into the freestyle world, maybe bringing some other guests on of guys that we know, in the wrestling community. Hunter has a lot more ties than I do, so hopefully we can get some good stuff, and then maybe even like doing some like future lineup predictions and that kind of thing. So it's gonna be
Absolutely.
good. I'm pumped about it, but hey, excited to get started with you, Hunt, and looking forward to this next few weeks. It's gonna be good.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Allie. Good one.
Alrighty. Hey, this has been First Takedown. We'll talk to you guys soon. Appreciate it. Have a good one.